Have you ever noticed the strange thing that happens when you try too hard to be perfect? It is a mystery that haunts almost every language learner I have ever met. I call it the Fluency Paradox. The more rules you memorize, the more silent you become. The more words you add to your vocabulary, the more your mind seems to freeze when someone actually looks you in the eye and says hello. It is like trying to run through deep water. The harder you push, the more the resistance pushes back against you. You spend years gathering all the pieces of the puzzle, but when you try to put them together, they just do not seem to fit. This is the paradox of the expert beginner. You know everything about the language, but you cannot seem to live inside it. Welcome to True Grit English Stories. I am so glad you decided to spend some time here with me today. Put down whatever you are holding and just take a deep breath. This is a safe space for us to slow down. I want to share something very personal with you because I think you might be feeling exactly how I used to feel. For a long time I thought I was the problem. I thought my brain was just not wired for languages. But I was wrong. And if you feel stuck today, I want you to know that you are not broken either. You are just carrying a heavy load that you were never meant to carry. I spent 10 long years studying English in a traditional way. I was the perfect student on paper. I had the high scores and I could explain the most complex grammar rules to anyone who asked. My notebooks were filled with neat rows of vocabulary, and my shelves were heavy with textbooks. I did everything the teachers told me to do. But there was a dark secret I kept hidden from everyone. Despite those 10 years of effort, I still felt like a total stranger to the language. When I stepped out of the classroom and into the real world, I felt like I was walking through a thick gray fog. I was carrying a heavy backpack full of grammar books, and every step felt like a massive chore. Whenever I had to speak, my heart would race and my mind would go completely blank. It was a special kind of internal silence that felt very loud and very painful. I remember one specific afternoon that changed everything for me. I was sitting in a small cafe and I overheard two people talking. One of them was clearly not a native speaker. Their grammar was messy and they used the wrong prepositions all the time. They made mistakes that would have made my old teachers shake their heads in disappointment. But something incredible was happening. That person was laughing. They were leaning forward and their eyes were bright with excitement. They were sharing a story and the other person was hanging on every word. They were not thinking about the past perfect tense or the correct use of articles. They were just present. They were sharing a piece of their soul. I sat there with my perfect grammar and my silent mouth, and I felt a sharp pang of jealousy. I realized right then that I was a prisoner of my own knowledge. I had built a beautiful golden cage made of rules and definitions, and I was sitting inside it waiting for someone to give me permission to speak. I was chasing a ghost called perfection, and that ghost was stealing my life away from me. I was so afraid of being wrong that I had forgotten why I wanted to learn English in the first place. I did not want to pass a test. I wanted to connect. I wanted to be like that person in the cafe who was messy and happy and free. This realization was the first crack in the wall. I started to look at my journey differently. I realized that fluency is not about how much you know. It is actually about how much you can afford to forget. I know that sounds completely backward, but please stay with me for a moment. When you speak your native language, you are not thinking about the mechanics of the tongue or the structure of the sentence. You are just expressing a feeling or an idea. You have forgotten the rules so well that they have become a part of your bones. I had been doing the exact opposite. I was keeping the rules in the front of my mind like a row of guards. Every time a thought tried to come out, it had to be checked by the guards first. Is this the right tense? Is the pronunciation correct? Is this the most professional word choice? By the time the thought passed the inspection, the moment was gone. The conversation had moved on and I was left standing there in the silence. I decided right then that I had to change my entire philosophy. I had to stop being a student and start being a human being. I had to find a way to let the language in through the back door of my mind instead of trying to force it through the front. I started to wonder if there was a simpler way. A way that did not involve stress or long hours of boring drills. I wanted to find the path of least resistance. I wanted to find the joy again. That is when I discovered the 2 habits I want to talk to you about today. These are not revolutionary academic theories. They are simple and quiet shifts in how you spend your time. But when I started doing them, everything changed. The fog started to lift. The heavy backpack felt lighter, and eventually I realized I did not need to carry it at all. My English stopped feeling like a subject I was studying and started feeling like a friend I was walking with. If you are feeling frustrated right now, I want you to listen closely. You have probably been told that you need to work harder or study more. But maybe the answer is actually to work softer. Maybe the secret is to let go of the control you are trying so hard to maintain. We are going to explore how to move from a place of anxiety to a place of flow. We are going to talk about how to soak in the language until it becomes a part of your subconscious. And we are going to talk about how to find your own voice by following the echoes of others. The journey from the head to the heart is the longest journey we ever take. In language learning, it is the difference between knowing and being. I want to help you make that leap. I want to help you see that the mistakes you are so afraid of are actually the keys to your freedom. Every time you stumble, you are just learning the terrain. Every time you forget a word, you are making space for a feeling. This process is not about being a better student. It is about becoming a more confident version of yourself. So as we move forward together, I want you to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Let go of the need to have all the answers right now. We are going to take this one small step at a time. The 2 habits I am going to share with you are easy and gentle. They will not feel like work. They will feel like coming home to yourself. You have everything you need inside you already. You have the curiosity of a child and the heart of a storyteller. We just need to clear away the noise so your true voice can finally be heard. Stick with me and let us find that natural flow together. It is much closer than you think. Now that we have left that heavy backpack behind, I want to take you deeper into the first secret. It is something I call the deep soak. Most people think they know how to listen to a language. They sit down with a notebook and a pen and they prepare for battle. They treat every sentence like a puzzle that needs to be solved. They listen for 10 seconds and then they hit the pause button. They look up a word and then they write it down 5 times. This is what I call active listening. And while it has its place, it is often the very thing that keeps you from feeling the language. Keeps you stuck in your head. It keeps you analyzing the parts instead of feeling the whole. The deep soak is the complete opposite of that. Imagine you are standing in a garden on a very hot day. Suddenly a gentle rain starts to fall. You do not try to catch every single drop of rain in your hands. You do not try to count how many drops land on each leaf. You just stand there and let the water wash over you. You feel the cool temperature and you smell the earth waking up. You are soaking. This is exactly how I want you to approach English. This was the first habit that started to melt the fog in my mind. I started this habit by carving out what I call a low-pressure zone. For me, this was 30 minutes every morning while I made my tea and toasted my bread. I would put on a podcast or a video of someone speaking English. But here is the trick. I did not choose something about grammar or something about learning English. I chose something I was actually interested in. I chose stories about travel or people talking about their hobbies. And I did something that felt very wrong at first. I did not try to understand everything. I let the voices become a background melody to my morning. I want you to try this too. Find a quiet corner of your day where you are doing something with your hands but your mind is free. Maybe you are folding laundry or walking to the bus stop or washing the dishes after dinner. Put on your headphones and let the English language wash over you. If you only understand 20% of what is being said, that is perfectly fine. In fact, it is better than fine. It is exactly where you need to be. When you stop trying to catch every word, your brain does something miraculous. It stops panicking. It stops hitting those walls of frustration. When you are in the low-pressure zone, your subconscious mind takes over. Your brain is a beautiful and complex machine designed to find patterns. Even when you think you are not paying attention, your ears are picking up the rhythm of the sentences. You are learning where the stress falls in a word. You are learning the music of the voice. You are learning how one word flows into the next like a river. This is what I call the heart of the language. You cannot find this in a textbook. You cannot find this by memorizing a list of irregular verbs. You can only find it by soaking in the sound until it feels familiar. I remember after about 2 weeks of doing this every single day, I had a very strange experience. I was walking down the street and a phrase just popped into my head. I was not thinking about English at all, but suddenly I heard a voice in my mind saying the phrase clear as a bell. It was a group of words I had heard in a podcast a few days before. I did not have to translate it from my native language. I did not have to think about the grammar rules. The phrase was just there waiting for me like a gift. That was the moment I realized that the deep soak was working. My brain was building a library of sounds in the background while I was just living my life. This is the power of the subconscious. Think about how a child learns. A child does not sit with a dictionary. A child just exists in a world of sound. They hear their parents and their friends talking for thousands of hours before they ever try to explain a rule. They are the ultimate deep soakers. We often think that as adults we have lost this ability, but that is a lie. We have just forgotten how to use it because we are so focused on being right. We are so focused on the grade and the test and the opinion of others. The deep soak is a way to reclaim that natural way of learning. It is a way to tell your brain that it is safe to just listen. When you are not under pressure to perform, your mind opens up. It becomes more flexible. You start to notice things you never noticed before. You might notice how a speaker sighs before they say something important. You might notice the small sounds like or that make the speech feel human. These small things are the glue that holds the language together. I want to give you a very practical tip for your deep soak. Do not choose content that is too difficult. If you choose something where you understand 0%, you will just get bored and turn it off. Choose something where you can follow the general idea even if you miss the details. This is the sweet spot. It is the place where you feel a little bit challenged but mostly comfortable. If you can understand the vibe of the conversation, you are doing it right. And please remember to keep it simple. You do not need expensive equipment or a special quiet room. You just need your ears and a little bit of curiosity. This habit is not about adding more work to your day. It is about changing the flavor of the time you already have. It is about turning a boring chore like cleaning the floor into a moment of connection with the new world. I spent so many years thinking that more effort was the answer. I thought that if I just studied for 2 more hours or bought 1 more book I would finally be fluent. But the truth was that I needed less effort and more presence. I needed to stop fighting the language and start swimming in it. The deep soak gave me the permission to relax. And when I relaxed, the language finally started to stay. But soaking is only half of the story. It is how you let the language in. But how do you let the language out? How do you move from just hearing the music to actually playing the instrument? That is where the second habit comes in. It is a habit that works together with the deep soak to build a bridge between your ears and your mouth. It is the thing that finally broke my silence and allowed me to speak with my own voice. Before we move on to that, I want you to take a moment and just appreciate how far you have come. The fact that you are here listening to this means you have a heart that wants to grow. You have the grit to keep going even when it feels hard. That is the most important thing of all. You do not need to be perfect today. You just need to be a little bit more soaked in the language than you were yesterday. Take another deep breath. Feel the air in your lungs. You are doing a great job. This journey is not a race. It is a long and beautiful walk through a landscape that is slowly becoming familiar to you. In the next part of our time together, I am going to show you exactly how to take all those sounds you have been soaking in and turn them into your own words. We are going to talk about the echo and how it can change your life. But for now, just let these ideas settle into your mind. Let them soak in. You are exactly where you need to be. So now you have the rein. You have been soaking in the sounds of English and letting the music of the language fill your mind. But there is a question that always comes up at this stage. You might be asking yourself how all that listening turns into actual speaking. How do you move from the quiet peace of the deep soak to the active world of conversation? This is where most people get stuck. They wait for a magical day when they will suddenly wake up and be able to speak perfectly. But that day never comes because speaking is not something you learn in your head. It is something you learn in your body. This brings us to the second habit. It is a simple practice that I call the echo. If the deep soak is about letting the language in, then the echo is about letting the language out in a way that feels safe and natural. For years I tried to practice speaking by reading lists of sentences out loud. I would look at a grammar book and repeat things like "the cat is under the table." But my heart was never in it. My voice sounded flat and my tongue felt heavy. I was practicing English like it was a math problem, but English is not a math problem. It is a vibration. It is a way of moving your breath and your muscles to share a feeling. The echo changed everything for me because it removed the pressure of having to create my own sentences from scratch. When you are a beginner or even at an intermediate level, trying to build your own sentences is like trying to build a house while you are still learning what a hammer is. It is exhausting. The echo allows you to borrow the strength of others. It allows you to use someone else's house while you learn how the walls are put together. Here is how the habit works in your daily life. While you are doing your deep soak, you will occasionally hear a phrase that just sounds good. Maybe it is the way the person says the word honestly. Maybe it is a short sentence like "I see what you mean." When you hear a phrase like that, I want you to pause for just a second. And then I want you to say it back to yourself. But do not just say the words. I want you to echo the entire vibe of the speaker. If the speaker sounds happy, I want you to say it with a smile in your voice. If the speaker sounds thoughtful, I want you to slow down and let your voice drop a little bit. You are not just a student repeating a lesson. You are a mirror. You are echoing the music and the emotion. This is why I call it the echo and not just repetition. An echo carries the same energy as the original sound. It carries the same soul. I started doing this for just 5 minutes a day. I would be in my kitchen and I would hear a character in a show say something like "it is what it is." I would say it back to the empty room. It is what it is. I would try to match the rhythm exactly. I would pay attention to how my tongue touched the back of my teeth. I would feel the way the air moved through my throat. I would say it 5 or 6 times until it felt like the phrase belonged to me. This habit does something very important for your brain. It builds muscle memory. Your mouth and your tongue are made of muscles just like your arms and your legs. If you want to play the piano, you have to train your fingers to find the keys without looking. If you want to speak English, you have to train your mouth to find the shapes of the words without thinking. When you echo a phrase several times, you are creating a physical path in your body. You are making it easy for your mouth to say those words again in the future. The most beautiful part of the echo is that it is private. There is no one there to judge you. There is no teacher to tell you that your accent is wrong. There is no partner waiting for you to finish your sentence. It is just you and the sound. This privacy is a gift. It allows you to play. It allows you to be silly. You can try saying the phrase in different ways. You can say it loud or you can say it as a soft whisper. You can say it fast or you can say it very, very slowly. When you play with the language like this, the fear starts to melt away. You realize that English is not a test you have to pass. It is a playground. I found that the more I echoed, the more my self-confidence grew. I stopped being afraid of my own voice. I started to like the sound of my own English. And because I was echoing real people speaking real sentences, my English started to sound more natural. I was not using the stiff and robotic language of the textbooks. I was using the living, breathing language of real life. I want to give you a few practical tips to make the echo habit work for you. First, keep it short. Do not try to echo a long paragraph. That will only frustrate you. Just pick a phrase that is 3 to 5 words long. Something like "that is a good point" or "I am not sure about that." These short bursts of language are the building blocks of real conversation. If you can master these small pieces, the big sentences will take care of themselves later on. Second, do not worry about the meaning of every single word. If you understand the general feeling of the phrase, that is enough. Focus more on the sound and the rhythm. Think of it like learning a song in a different language. You do not need to know the history of every note to feel the melody. The melody is what sticks in your mind. The melody is what makes the language stay. Third, make it a part of your daily flow. You do not need a special time for this. You can echo while you are scrolling through social media. You can echo while you are watching a movie in the evening. Just pick 1 or 2 phrases a day. That is all it takes. If you do this every day for a month, you will have 30 or 40 phrases that are locked into your muscle memory. Those phrases will be there for you when you actually need to talk to someone. They will pop out of your mouth automatically because you have trained your body to say them. I remember the first time I used an echoed phrase in a real conversation. I was talking to a colleague and I felt that familiar panic rising up in my chest. I did not know what to say. But then a phrase I had been echoing for a week just jumped into my mind. I said, "It is a bit complicated, but we will figure it out." The words came out smooth and easy. My colleague nodded and smiled. They did not notice that I had borrowed that phrase from a podcast. They just saw someone who was communicating with ease. That was the moment I realized that I did not have to be a genius to speak English. I just had to be a good listener and a good echo. I realized that the heavy backpack of grammar rules was never going to help me in that moment. What helped me was the physical memory of the words in my mouth. As we move through this journey together, I want you to remember that you are building something new. You are building a new version of yourself. A version that is not afraid to speak and not afraid to be heard. The deep soak and the echo are the two tools that will build this new you. One brings the language in and the other lets it out. Together they create a circle of flow that is unstoppable. But there is still one more thing we need to talk about. Even with these two habits, you might still feel a sense of hesitation. You might still feel like there is a wall between you and the rest of the world. This is the psychological wall of fear. In the next part of our story, I want to show you how to climb that wall. I want to talk about how to embrace the mess and find the courage to be imperfect. Because once you give yourself permission to fail, you will finally find the freedom to succeed. You are doing so well. Just keep soaking and keep echoing. You are teaching your brain and your body a new way of being. It takes time and it takes patience, but I promise you it is worth it. Take a sip of your tea and take a deep breath. The hard part is over. Now we just have to keep walking. I am so proud of your progress and I cannot wait to share the next step with you. Stay curious and stay kind to yourself. You are exactly where you need to be. We have talked about the rain and the echo. We have discussed how to let the language in through the deep soak and how to let it out through the echo. But now we need to talk about the person standing in the middle of it all. That person is you. Even with the best habits in the world, there is often one thing that holds us back. It is a quiet, invisible wall that stops us right when we are about to make progress. I call it the wall of perfection. It is the feeling that if you cannot say it perfectly, you should not say it at all. I want to tell you a story about a bridge. Imagine you are standing on one side of a deep canyon. On the other side is the version of you that speaks English with ease and joy. To get there, you have to cross a bridge. But this bridge is not made of solid stone. It is made of mistakes. Every time you trip or stumble or use the wrong word, you are actually laying another plank on that bridge. Many people look at the gap and they are so afraid of falling that they never take the first step. They wait for a perfect solid bridge to appear out of thin air. But that is not how it works. You have to build the bridge while you are walking on it. This is the psychological shift that changed everything for me. I realized that my mistakes were not signs of failure. They were signs of life. I want you to think back to when you were a small child learning your first language. Did you feel ashamed when you said a word wrong? Did you hide in the corner when you used the wrong tense? Of course not. You were too busy being curious. You were too busy trying to tell your parents about the bird you saw, or the toy you wanted. You had no wall of perfection. You only had a desire to connect. Somewhere along the way to becoming an adult, we lose that freedom. We start to care about what people think. We start to believe that our value as a person is tied to our grammar score. This is a lie that the traditional school system told us. It is a lie that we have to unlearn if we want to be free. I want to give you a very practical tool to help you break down this wall. I call it the mistakes game. Every morning, I want you to set a goal for yourself. But I do not want your goal to be about being right. I want your goal to be about being wrong. Tell yourself that today you are going to make at least 5 big messy mistakes in English. Maybe you will use the wrong preposition, or maybe you will forget a word in the middle of a sentence. When it happens, I want you to smile. I want you to literally tell yourself, well done for making progress. When you gamify your mistakes, the fear starts to lose its power over you. You are no longer trying to protect a perfect image. You are just a scientist doing an experiment. This shift in perspective is what I call the quiet revolution. It happens entirely inside your own mind, but the results are visible to the whole world. When you stop worrying about being wrong, you start to look more relaxed. Your shoulders drop. Your face softens. And strangely enough, when you are relaxed, you actually make fewer mistakes. The tension in your body is what causes your brain to freeze. When the tension is gone, the flow returns. I remember a time when I had to give a presentation in English. I was terrified. I had spent hours checking every single word in my notes, but as soon as I stood up in front of the group, I forgot everything. My mind was a blank white screen. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. In the past, I would have apologized and felt miserable for a week. But that day I decided to try something different. I took a deep breath and I looked at the audience. I said, "I am sorry, my English is having a bit of a nap right now. Give me a second to wake it up." Everyone laughed. It was a warm, friendly laugh. In that moment, the wall of perfection crumbled. I realized that people were not there to judge my grammar. They were there to hear my ideas. They wanted me to succeed. Once I let go of the need to be perfect, the words started to come back. They were not perfect words, but they were my words. And that was enough. This is a tip I want you to carry with you. Most of the people you meet in the world are much kinder than the voice inside your own head. They are not waiting for you to fail. They are waiting for you to connect with them. When you speak English, you are giving them a gift. You are sharing your thoughts and your experiences across a cultural gap. That is a beautiful and brave thing to do. Do not let the fear of a wrong verb steal that beauty away from you. Another practical way to embrace the mess is to change your identity. Stop calling yourself an English student. When you call yourself a student, you are always waiting for a grade. You are always looking for a teacher to tell you if you are right or wrong. Instead, I want you to call yourself an English user. A user is someone who uses a tool to get a job done. If you use a hammer to drive a nail, it does not matter if you hold the hammer in a slightly funny way. What matters is that the nail goes into the wood. If you use English to tell a joke or ask for directions or share a feeling, then you have succeeded. I want you to try this for 1 week. Every time you use the 2 habits we talked about, the deep soak and the echo, tell yourself that you are a user. You are using the sounds to fill your mind. You are using the echo to train your body. You are not a student preparing for a test. You are an explorer discovering a new world. The 2 habits work best when you have this mindset of curiosity and play. The deep soak is much more effective when you are not judging yourself for what you do not understand. The echo is much more powerful when you are having fun with the sounds instead of worrying about your accent. These habits are the seeds, but your mindset is the soil. If the soil is hard and dry with perfectionism, the seeds will struggle to grow. But if the soil is soft and open, the seeds will turn into a beautiful garden before you know it. I know it is not always easy to let go of the fear. It is a process that takes time. Some days you will feel brave and some days you will feel like hiding. That is okay. That is part of the human experience. On the days when you feel small, just go back to the deep soak. Just let the language wash over you and do not worry about speaking at all. Be kind to yourself. You are doing something difficult and you are doing it with grit and heart. As we get ready for the final part of our journey, I want you to sit with this idea for a moment. You do not have to be perfect to be powerful. Your voice has value exactly as it is right now. The mistakes you make are not obstacles. They are the path itself. Every time you open your mouth, you are building that bridge. In the final part of our time together, we are going to pull everything together. We are going to talk about how to keep these habits alive for the long term. We are going to talk about the small wins that lead to big changes. But for now, just give yourself permission to be messy. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. The fog is lifting and the sun is starting to come through. You have done the hard work of showing up. Now you just have to keep walking. I am so glad to be on this path with you. You are doing much better than you think. Keep breathing and keep going. You are exactly where you need to be. We have traveled a long road together today. We started in the thick gray fog of frustration and we found our way into the light. We talked about the deep soak and how it lets the music of the language fill your heart without any stress. We talked about the echo and how it trains your body to speak with a natural rhythm. And we talked about breaking down that wall of perfection to find the freedom to be messy and real. Now, as we sit here in this quiet space, I want to share the final piece of the puzzle with you. This is the secret that keeps the engine running when the initial excitement starts to fade. It is the secret of the small win. Most people fail at learning a language not because they are not smart enough. They fail because they try to do too much too fast. They treat it like a sprint instead of a long, beautiful walk. They tell themselves they will study for 2 hours every single night. For the first 3 days they do great, but then life happens. They get tired at work or a friend calls or they just want to watch a movie. They miss 1 day and they feel like a failure. They miss 2 days and they feel like they have lost all their progress. By the 4th day they have given up completely. This is the cycle of the big goal and it is a trap. I want you to forget about big goals for a moment. I want you to focus on the power of the tiny habit. These 2 habits we discussed, the deep soak and the echo, are designed to be tiny. They are designed to fit into the cracks of your life. You do not need a desk and a lamp and a quiet room to do them. You just need a few minutes and a little bit of intention. The magic does not happen in the 1 big hour of study. The magic happens in the 5 minutes of soaking while you brush your teeth. It happens in the 30 seconds of echoing a phrase while you wait for the kettle to boil. Think of it like a single drop of water hitting a stone. 1 drop does nothing. But if that drop falls every single day in the same spot, it will eventually carve a path through the hardest rock in the world. Your brain is the same way. Consistency is the most powerful force in the universe. If you can commit to just 10 minutes a day of these 2 habits, you will see more progress in 3 months than you saw in 3 years of traditional classes. This is because you are not just memorizing information. You are changing the way your brain interacts with the world. I want to talk to you about how to measure your progress. In the old way of learning, you measured progress by test scores or the number of words you knew. But that does not tell the whole story. I want you to start using what I call the feeling scale. When you finish a deep soak, ask yourself how you feel. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable with the sound of the voices? When you echo a phrase, ask yourself how your mouth feels. Does the word feel a little bit smoother on your tongue than it did yesterday? These small shifts in feeling are the true markers of growth. They are the signs that the language is moving from your head into your soul. There will be days when you feel like nothing is happening. I call this the invisible growth phase. It is like a seed under the ground. You water it every day, but you do not see any green leaves. You might feel tempted to stop, but under the surface the roots are growing deep and strong. They are preparing for the moment when they can finally burst through the soil. When you are in this phase, just trust the process. Keep soaking. Keep echoing. Even if you do not feel fluent yet, you are becoming fluent. You are building the foundation that will support you for the rest of your life. I want you to look forward into the future for a moment. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You are standing in a cafe or a park, and someone starts a conversation with you in English. Instead of that old feeling of panic, you feel a sense of calm. You listen and the words feel like a warm rain because you have been soaking in them every day. You open your mouth to respond and the phrases come out with a natural rhythm because your muscles remember the echo. You make a small mistake, but you just smile and keep going because you have broken the wall of perfection. You are not a student trying to pass a test anymore. You are a person sharing a moment with another person. You are free. That version of you is not a dream. It is a reality that is already being built. Every minute you spend here with me and every minute you spend with these habits is a brick in that new house. I am so incredibly proud of you for having the grit to try a new way. It takes courage to let go of the old rules and trust your own heart. It takes heart to keep showing up for yourself, even when it feels quiet and slow. You are not alone on this journey. There are thousands of us walking this path together. We are all learning how to soak and how to echo. We are all learning how to be kind to ourselves when we stumble. When you feel tired, just remember that your voice matters. Your stories matter. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say, and it does not care if your grammar is perfect. It only cares that you are real. As we come to the end of our time today, I want to leave you with a gentle thought. You have already done the hardest part. You have opened your mind to a new possibility. You have taken the first step out of the fog. Now all you have to do is keep walking at your own pace. There is no rush. There is no one to beat. There is only you and the beautiful language that is slowly becoming your own. Why don't you try something small right now? Before you move on to the next part of your day, find just one English phrase that you heard today that you liked. Could be something simple like I am exactly where I need to be. Say it out loud to yourself. Say it with a smile. Say it as a soft echo. Feel the way the words move in your mouth. Notice the music of the rhythm. Just do that one tiny thing and you have already succeeded for today. How about we make a promise to each other? Let's promise to keep things simple. Let's promise to choose connection over perfection. Let's promise to let the language be easy. You are a natural learner and you have a beautiful voice. I am so glad we could spend this time together. I believe in you and I am cheering for you every step of the way. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. You are doing a great job. I will be here waiting for you next time. Until then, just keep soaking and keep echoing. You are doing much better than you think you are. Goodbye for now and stay curious.